Melanie, thank you. And I want to go straight to Republican Senator James Lankford. He is the only senator on both the Intelligence and Homeland Security committees. Obviously, a lot of say you have here, sir. There's so many questions I could ask you about these stark differences between Donald Trump and his nominees. But I want to ask you this one. Do you think that Trump's nominees will actually stand up to him on the wall? The TPP, torture, sure, nuclear weapons, the list goes on.
I would assume that they would. I assume these are all conversations they've already had with the president-elect in the interviews to say we have some differences. I think it shows that Trump is bringing in good leaders that have good thoughts on a lot of these issues, and he doesn't mind people within his cabinet having some disagreements. That's a positive thing in the process, and a lot of these issues were hotly debated throughout the campaign, and as the campaign went on, some of those he shifted on, and you see that from some of the cabinet officials that he selected.
So you have said you've had concerns about the Secretary of State nominee Rex Tillerson due to his close links to Russia as the CEO of Exxon. And your colleague Marco Rubio, of course, shares those concerns. He's on the Foreign Relations Committee. Tillerson needs his vote. And their exchanges today were very contentious. I want to play one of them for you, Senator.
Is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
I would not use that term.
Based on all this information and what's publicly in the record about what's happened in Aleppo and the Russian military, you are still not prepared to say that Vladimir Putin and his military have violated the rules of war and have conducted war crimes in Aleppo.
Now, those are very, very serious charges to make, and I would want to have much more information before reaching a conclusion. I understand there is a body of record in the public domain. I'm sure there's a body of record in the classified domain. And I think in order to deal with a serious question like this,
Mr. Tillerson, what's happened in Aleppo is in the public domain. The videos and the pictures are there.
Fully informed before advising the president.
Senator, are you satisfied with Tillerson's response?
Tillerson had a lot of questions all day long, and he did come back over and over again on the issues of Russia, saying that Russia needs to be held to account. So yes. At the end of the day, he came back and said the things that we clearly needed to be able to hear from him, is that this is not a business transaction. This is a transaction of a sense of values from the United States, that we are projecting our values globally and standing up for things like religious liberty, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom to be able to gather. Those are unique values that we have as Americans, and in places where they don't share those values, we should push back on those things. And Russia's been one of the leading violators of a lot of those different values.
So you say he circled back and you ended up being confident, or you seem satisfied with his responses. Senator Rubio pushed him on one other thing when it pertains to Vladimir Putin, when you refer to contentious exchanges, and I wanted to play this one for you.
Are you aware that people who oppose Vladimir Putin wind up dead all over the world, poisoned, shot in the back of the head?
Well, people who speak up for freedom in regimes that are repressive are often at threat, and these things happen to them. In terms of assigning specific responsibilities, I would have to have more information.
I know you said you ended up being satisfied with his responses on Russia. Does he now have your vote, Senator Lankford?
I'm still going through all the final information on that. I've not made a final decision. I would tell you I'm leaning towards a yes based on what I'm hearing. I'm still trying to get a time to be able to block off. There are some other human rights issues that I want to be able to walk through and to be able to see what they're doing specifically. Some of those were touched on in the hearing today. Some of them were not. And so I want to be able to get some final answers.
All right, so Aline, yes. Today, Trump said he's going to start building the wall immediately. He said, again, Mexico's going to reimburse U.S. taxpayers for it later. The president of Mexico tonight says, absolutely no, Mexico will never pay for that wall. Are you sure, Senator, that U.S. taxpayers will not get stuck with that bill?
I don't know what the proposal is from President-elect Trump. None of us have seen it yet, what he's proposing on how Mexico would pay for the wall. He is coming forward to be able to make the request. Quite frankly, this is a bill that's almost 20 years old now, that the United States already voted, and the United States Congress voted, and the president signed to say we need to have a physical barrier on our border. But it was never fully funded, and in many areas where there was multi-layering, as General Kelly mentioned in his testimony yesterday at the Department of Homeland Security hearing, some of those areas where technology were put in place, there was $1 billion spent, and the technology didn't work at the end of it. So there's a lot of issues with the acquisition from DHS, which has been a major problem for over a decade, and for finishing out something that Congress started in the early 2000s on security. So this is not a vote to start something new. This is actually a vote to be able to finish what should have been done a long time ago.
All right, Senator Lankford, good to talk to you again. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.